I can definitely see where I want to now put more investment, put more effort in the second store, which has already outdone my first store, by a considerable amount.
People like to hear numbers, Suraj, to hear about what's possible. So in terms of overall revenue on both stores that you've generated so far, where are we sitting at now?
Yeah, so we're sitting at just shy of the 80K across two stores, and the first store since launched about 60,000, give or take. So on average, 5,000 to 7,000 a month. We've had some better months to top it up. And the new store, from like just day dot, it did 11.5 in the first month. So far, I'm looking at it right now, just here on my other screen, and yeah, we're on £21,110. We're not through the second month yet, so still a week or so to go at the time of recording. So I would expect that one now, based on the current conversion rate, based on all my metrics here, I would anticipate or project that to hit the 25K mark, which is 12.5 on average per month in the first 2 months, going into a busy Q4 shopping season. So who knows where this will end up. But overall, between two sites, 100, and I can definitely see where I want to now put more investment, put more effort in the second store, which has already outdone my first store, by a considerable amount. And not just on the financials, but just looking at it over here, I'm comparing side by side things like the online store conversion rate, the bounce rate, the average order value. So I'm looking at it right now. The average order value is 55% more on my second store than it is on my first store. My conversion rate is 12% higher on my second store than it is on my first store. My total sales in the last 2 months are 458% higher on my second store than my first store. The checkout conversion, the returning customer rate, all of the key metrics that you look at for success, or that define the success of a store, all pointing in the right direction. So now that gives me a real roadmap for the rest of the year to say, where am I putting more investment, more time, more effort, more attention, because I now know where those results are going to come from.
Yeah, the trajectory of that second store sounds exciting, and I think that's going to very quickly sail past your first store and become your primary e-commerce generating store.
Exactly, and that's really okay. I guess, being honest and transparent with you, the first couple of months I was building out this new store and researching it, I kind of felt a bit like a traitor to my first store. I felt a bit bad for the first. Yes, first one's your baby, right? You're always so proud of it, even though it might not be perfect, like a little bit of an ugly child, but you still love it. You're still proud of it. So I did feel a bit bad for that first store, but actually you kind of break through that when you start seeing the second store outperform.
Yeah, exactly. And with the profits from the first store, as long as it's kind of sustainable, you can hire somebody to manage it and give it the tender love and care that it deserves, whilst you focus your efforts on where the real revenue is going to start to come from. It's the 80-20. And every time that 80-20 starts to shift in the favor of, like, actually there's even more leverage in this area. So throughout your journey, I mean, there's so many great lessons here. Are there any real, like, aha moments that were the kind of pivotal points, whether they're learnings from the community or the program, or just from your own, lessons and mistakes along the way, that accelerated you to help you break through to those next levels? Because I can see a clear staircase happening here in that you've leveled up several times and will continue to do so. Anything that you can pinpoint that happened along the way?
So many things, Lewis, from supply conversations to ad strategies to shiny ball syndrome with Shopify apps and Shopify plugins to enhance your store, which ultimately ended up doing more harm than good. And just that, something that really I had to learn to be better at is to stop poking around and kind of just let things be. I always wanted to try and tweak something and see a new Shopify app that will, help you do this on your store, or improve this and improve that. So I'd install it, and of course that would then potentially the click-through rate of a product or an add to cart. And I was constantly experimenting. And whilst that is a good principle to constantly be experimenting, I found that I was maybe doing it too soon on that store with too little traffic or not enough scale there to be able to experiment without hurting things. And perhaps the lesson there is if you're going to experiment, do it on an A/B test or a subset. Don't go and just change everything on your store every week. And again, all of these lessons are potentially the reasons why that first store kind of plateaued a little bit. I would change the ads very regularly. I would change the color of the buttons very regularly, and I would get sucked into conversion rate optimization and wanting to, in the name, in the spirit of scaling, but kind of doing myself a disservice in the process. So what the big aha moment I had over the last 8 months, running the stores, is very much like, give it some time, be patient, and patience. I guess if we're to sum it up in a word, is patience. I don't see myself as a patient person. I like speed. I like efficiency. I like doing things quickly. There is a time and place for that, and I think as you mature and as you grow and learn more lessons in this type of business, you learn the lesson very, very quickly when you experiment too much and it hurts you. And I think that's something that I wasn't experienced in my service business, which is it's very different. You can experiment, you can change things around. It doesn't really impact it like the next day, with ads.
With business, Suraj, because I think it's an interesting observation, because we're almost rewarded when we first start a business by changing the actions that we've taken. So instead of the 9-to-5 job, suddenly if we change the way we do everything, suddenly we've got a business in place, and then we sort of teach ourselves that taking those actions was the right thing to do. But I certainly learned that if I was just to keep things simple and focus on the priorities, that made the biggest difference. But what would you say then, from your learning so far, Suraj, were the absolute priorities? So to avoid the distractions, what would you just focus on to maintain the growth that you've seen so far?
In terms of the day-to-day running of the websites, for the Google ads, it would be set it and forget it, at least for a little while. Don't tinker with it after 48 hours if nothing's happened. I still get the urge. If I haven't had a sale every day now, at least, I'm panicking and I'm like, I haven't had the ding today. I bet you my account's been suspended. So you get into a bit of panic. Let me go in and change the ads. Let me go in up the budget. And you go in, and of course, nothing's wrong. It's just the flow of things. I think the biggest priority there is certainly in terms of Google ads, let the algorithm do its work, let it figure itself out, and keep it simple. I can't stress that enough. And that's something that is hard for me to also get my head around, or was hard to get my head around. With my first store, lots of different types of PMAX campaigns. I was trying to do this, trying to do that, trying to do this. My second store, I have one PMAX campaign on a small budget, and I know what the bestseller is, and I'm just doubling down on that. So it's just about simplicity, or keeping it consistently simple. I think if I had to boil it down to one thing, is that success comes down to simple consistency.